Hello, this is Andrine, a Jewish American priestess, and today is the full moon of the month of Shevat. It's the full moon in Leo, is my understanding. And so today we're going to do a full moon reading for what is coming to manifestation right now in this time of the rising of the sap. We're coming on to Tu B'Shvat, the 15th of Shevat, which is the birthday of the trees in Jewish tradition. So I'm going to do a reading today. I'm going to use the full set, cast it down, and then we'll take out all the letters that end up face down and read the rest where they lay. And just do a one full spread reading. So without any further ado, I'll shuffle these up and we'll get started. What are we seeing come to fruition and manifestation in this Leo full moon of Shevat? Okay, so we'll start by taking out all the letters that are face down. And this is what we have left. I think I'll zoom in so that we can see more closely. And then of course I'll hold these up as I read them. So we have some groupings here, which is interesting. If we want to look at the reading as a whole here, I just want to see that this upper left area has three letters that are highest in the reading. We've got two are kind of central, two that are lower left, and then two lower right, and then one at the bottom. And I'm going to start by just going to go from the upper left sort of down through the lower right. The ones that are highest in the reading, generally I read as the helpful or healthy or positive things that are happening right now in this full moon, this time of the fruition of the month of Shevat. And I'm going to go ahead and read them just as they fell. At the very top we have the letter Nun, and it is lying sort of almost on its head. It's sort of on its back and on its head. So normally Nun looks like this, and we're seeing it like this. And the letter Nun is a letter that is representative of humility and loyalty, fidelity, and miracles. And it's lying down on its back, again, nearly upside down. And when something is in a positive position, which is to say high in the reading and upside down, we can read it as, well, a lot of times I think read Nun or whatever when it's lying on its back here as resting. So we have this concept of humility and loyalty and miracles that are resting. It also can be read as something that's happening inside. So we're taking a moment to find our inner humility in order to look for those miracles, the ness that exist within us. But we're doing this passively, not actively. We're not rushing forward and proclaiming humility. Of course, that would be the opposite of humility, wouldn't it? Instead, it's this resting and taking time to sit in contemplation and really leaning into the idea of the miracles that are giving us a sense of rest right now. That's the highest letter in the reading. So humility is really important, inner humility particularly. And and being able to see the miracles by leaning into that humility as we come into this full moon. Just below, into the left, we have the letter Vav, and Vav is face down. Vav usually looks like this, like a tall standing person with their head slightly bowed. Again, that little piece of humility with the bowed head, but is face down. So again, a position of prostration and humility again. Vav is all about connection, so we're not just being humble within ourselves, but we're also being humble in terms of connection with others. Connection with ourselves, others, and the divine. Vav is the number 6 in Gematria. And 6 is the representation of the 6th day of creation, so the day in which all the animals, including humans, were created in our myth. So this connection of divinity with humanity, but coming to a place of humility and prostration, just bowing down to the idea of connection so that we can sprout up again and stand tall when the time is right. And then the third letter in this little set is the letter Tav, again lying on its back. Tav usually looks like this. Tav is the final letter in the alphabet. And it's a stamp or a seal or a signature. And Tav also is sometimes said to look like a dalet and a nun. You can see that it looks a little bit like a nun on the side there, which spells din, din meaning judgment. So there's something that's coming to an end, and there's some judgment around it. But again, all this is very passive. Everything is lying down up here. There's the sense of humility, the sense of judgment, the sense of connection is all either internal or in a place of repose and relaxation. The stamp, the seal, this signature at the end of something. Full moons are often about completion, having grown and grown and grown until it's completely full. The moon will now start to wane. So we've got something that's coming to an end. And the Tav is the letter that rules over the moon in the sky as well. So this is our moon being in its fullness and resting on its back, just watching in judgment over the earth without having to do anything active about it. That's the topmost part of our reading. And I come into the center here, the middle part of our reading. We have Mem. Mem is the mother letter of water. And it's virtually upright. It's a womb space, so gestation. Again, the moon in its fullness is like a pregnant belly. So we've got this period of gestation. I think this is what's currently up. It's the number 40 in Gematria, so it has to do with this 40 weeks of gestation, 40 years in the wilderness, 40 days and 40 nights of rain in the ark, being carried like a womb in the water for the flood of Noah. So gestation, coming into fullness, having that period of waiting until, again, things are ripe. And this is up right now in the fullness of the moon, the Mem, which is the first letter of the word Mayim Chaim, which is waters of life, and Mikvah, the cleansing through water. Moshe and Miriam, it's Moses and Miriam, who help us find our way through birthing out of the narrow place through the Reed Sea into a sense of freedom as we start to wander for 40 years in the wilderness. So gestation, births and gestations all wrapped up in the Mem here. And next to that we have the letter Lamed, and Lamed is the letter that comes right before Mem in the alphabet. It's lying down on its face. Again, it usually looks like this, and it's showing up like this. So prostrate again. Lamed is the letter that begins the word Lev, which is heart-mind. So our heart is being prostrate right now too, bowing down to the mem, bowing down to the gestation. Lamed is the letter that represents the intestines in the body, so it's about discernment, being able to take things in, learn, and turn around and determine what is useful and what is not useful, and discard that which is not going to serve us. Taking in, again, information or sustenance or spiritual nourishment of some sort, and making distinctions about that. And rising up also with hope toward connection, but in a place of humility as it lies face down in this reading, right next to the mem. A little further down in our reading, we have the letter Shin, which is the mother letter of fire. It's on its side, on its face again. Shin generally looks like this, like those flames licking up from the bottom. The 3 yuds across the top and the 3 vavs coming down and an extra vav at the bottom. So this idea of fire. Fire is a transformative element, as are all the elements in their way. Fire is about passion, inspiration. And it's that letter that begins the word Shekhinah. This is the indwelling presence of the divine, usually the divine feminine, inside of each of us. First letter of the word Shalom, which means wholeness and peace, as well as the first letter of the word Shuva, meaning to return. Prostrate, again, the indwelling presence is lying face down as well on the front of, not upside down, but just resting. And that's like our presence, our presence of the divine, the inspiration, finding that within ourselves in connection to this full moon time. We've got passion here, we've got inspiration here, but it's a relaxed inspiration and a relaxed passion, trusting in the Shekhinah, the indwelling presence, and believing that through this humility we will find wholeness and peace. Mother letter of fire, and next to that, Gimel. The first letter that we're running into, well, besides the mem that seems to be mostly upright, Gimel is a letter that means a foot or a camel. You can see it looks a little bit like a boot. And the Gimel is about moving forward, setting forward into whatever direction we need to go. It also, you'll notice it looks a little bit like a nun with a little heel on the back of it. So it's like humility, but it's got that extra little yud, which is like the divine propelling the nun forward. So as we get into this part of the reading, we've got a forward movement. And Gimel is the letter that rules over the planet Jupiter in the sky, Jupiter being the largest of all the planets, and Jupiter being Tzedek, which means justice in Hebrew. So bringing us back up to the Deen here and the judgment. We've got justice coming in. And we're racing towards justice with this foot, with this camel, riding ourselves forward toward some sense of justice once we have surrendered to the indwelling presence, once we have transformed through whatever fire is coming or happening right now. That return, that change, shini, that wholeness that we're reaching for will propel us forward with a foot walking ahead. Next, I'm going to go to the lower right. We've got 2 letters that are sort of stacked on top of each other. The one that is underneath is the letter Zayin. Zayin is the sword or a scepter, so it's about sovereignty. And it's also representative of the Shekhinah because it's the feminine bride of Shevat that's represented by the 7th day of creation, and Zayin is the number 7. So this is a letter that's often affiliated with the Shekhinah as well, that Shabbat bride. So it's this sense of rest, but it's upright, interestingly, because everything else is kind of laying down here. But we've got sovereignty in this seventh day. This magical number, this lucky number of 7, is giving us a chance to express our sovereignty as we wind our way through this full moon time, grasping onto that sword or scepter and giving us the authority to find our own sovereignty and our own indwelling presence of the divine that gives us the sovereignty to do that which we needed to do, to take charge of our life. And on top of that is the kuf. And kuf is the letter that is the first letter of the word kadosh, or kedusha, which means sacredness, holiness. So there's this sense of the sacredness of the situation, the sacredness of the sovereignty. And we have the desire and the necessity to find that which is kadosh, that which is holy in every situation. The word kadosh, in fact, is translated as holiness, but it often, or sacredness, but in reality means that which is designated for service to the divine. So if you have a tool, an implement of any kind, like for instance, even this bowl here, it could be used for mundane purposes, or it could be dedicated for sacredness. And anything can be dedicated for the purpose of divinity, and anything can be demoted from its sacredness by being mishandled or misused. So we have the sword or the scepter, which could be used toward divine purposes, for designation toward service to the divine, or it could be used to murder or rule with a harsh fist. And this is sitting on top of that scepter, so what it says to me is the holy or sacred is superseding that sovereignty, that we need to subsume our own desire for power underneath the designation for service to divinity. Kuf is also the letter that represents the word kof, which means monkey. And to that end, it's saying that we are, humans, we are animals, and we need to be aware of our animal nature and our desire for, base thoughts or instincts. And if we find ourselves in a position of giving in to our more animalistic nature, it's time to transform that thought into something that is more elevated, more dedicated toward divinity. So even in our most base human body inhabiting desires and needs, we can take those and we can use our understanding of divinity to elevate that up. For instance, if we're going to sit down and eat a meal, rather than becoming distracted and just wolfing it down or not paying attention, we can take a moment to maybe say a blessing over our food, or really enjoy each and every bite and savor the gifts that are being given to us by divinity in abundance through our food and through our privileges and the resources that we've been gifted. So try not to get sucked into our animal nature and abuse our power, but really take that power and cover it with a sense of sacredness in all that we do. And then at the very bottom, there's my chime that is saying, here's the big final message. we have the letter He. And He is the first letter of the word Hineni, meaning presence. Here I am, present and available for service. He is the number 5 in Gematria, and it speaks to that 5 levels of the soul, like the 5 shells of a flame. The idea that we have these, very inner dwelling presence of the divine, and then our breath and our body itself, and then these additional emanations that come out from us in these shells of soul surrounding us. The 5 fingers on the hand, so something a little bit about action, and also sight. Sight is wrapped up in the He with the 5. And I think it's telling that presence is the thing that's holding the foundation of this reading. That staying available and ready for service, regardless of whether we know what that will look like, is going to be essential for getting through this time. The thing that's coming to fullness is this return to the idea of remaining present with what is, to find ourselves in acceptance of the situation, no matter how untenable it may seem, and to understand that the divine is with us and is ready to give us direction once we proclaim our availability. We say, Hineni, here I am, ready for service. So this is our reading for the full moon in Leo, of the full moon of Shevat. We remain humble. We're prostrating ourselves in connection with the divine, understanding that endings may come and judgments may come with that. But the moon is watching over us here. That we have this gestation period, and we need to prostrate our heart to that gestation and just wait until the time is ripe. That our indwelling presence and our inspiration may be resting right now with wholeness and shalom and Shabbat, that idea of rest. And when it has come into timing, we will know that it's time to get up and move forward toward justice, moving toward justice. At that point, we want to grasp our sovereignty and understand again that the Shekhinah is here with us, giving us the authority to do that which needs to be done. But it's important to stay cognizant of our designation for divine service, that we're not just using our sovereignty for nefarious purposes or for the fighting for fight's sake, but towards something that is just. And the way we do that is by coming into presence, coming into that acceptance of what is, and knowing that once we declare our ability to show up, be present for divine service, that we'll get our directions from the becoming one, the Yud He Vav He. And He shows up twice in the divine name, and twice of that presence showing up twice in the name of the divine, the becoming one, which I like to say half of divinity is just showing up. So, time to show up, be here, remain humble, know that there's a waiting period, but that the divine, the indwelling presence of the Shekhinah has got our back, and it's going to propel us forward when the time is right. And that's what I have for you today for our reading for the full moon of Shevat. Thank you so much for coming along, and I hope you enjoyed this. And I will look forward to seeing you here next time.